All right, so how do we get smooth contractions? Well, let's look at the contraction itself. So we know that a contraction has to start with the action potential. And the action potential starts at the neuron. Okay, so action potential. All right, so this is the motor neuron action potential. And then it's transferred over to the muscle cell. So then we get a muscle cell action potential. Okay, so this is the excitation part of the process, part of the contraction. Okay, and at this point we don't even have a contraction because we just have the action potential going. Okay, so this is the muscle cell. All right, so once there is coupling and we get it over to the muscle and the muscle starts to contract, we're no longer in a millivolt situation. We're no longer looking at an electrical stimulus. We've gotten the stimulus, now we're getting a response from it. So now we need to look at muscle tension. So we're going to divide this in half and we're going to make this tension. Because again, we're out of the electrical part of it. So now we have the muscle contracting. So the muscle gets stimulated and it contracts. And then it relaxes. And it does this in basically phases. So there's a phase here which basically goes all the way up to about this point right before contraction occurs. And this phase is called the latent phase. So this is just what's happening up until contraction occurs. Okay, we're getting the stimulus. Then we go into contraction. So the contraction peaks and the calcium gets actively transported back into the SR and all that. So then we get relaxation until we get down back to, resting muscle. So these are the phases of a contraction: the latent phase, the contraction phase, the relaxation phase, and then back to resting. So this is just one muscle twitch right here. And we also know that, well, one muscle twitch isn't from one motor unit. So we'll say this is one muscle twitch from one motor unit. And that probably isn't going to be enough to move the muscle. So what can we do about that? Well, we could try to stimulate the muscle more often. Okay, so we can do that. So if we go back over here and look at just at tension, so muscle tension, and here's my muscle that's relaxed. So I stimulate it. We stimulate it there. It starts to go up. It's contracting. Okay. Well, you know what? I could stimulate this muscle again even before it relaxes. So it will come up here and let's say it's relaxing. I can stimulate it again and make it go again. And look, it's going up higher. All right. And then when this one goes, it starts to come down. I can stimulate that again before it relaxes and it gets even higher. So every time I stimulate it, that muscle gets stronger and stronger. That motor unit contracts stronger, more forcefully. So I can continue to do that, right? So here's my stimulus again, goes back up. All right, stimulate it again, goes back up, stimulate it again, and it goes back up. So can this last forever? Well, no, a muscle has a limit to how hard it can contract, right? So there is a max. But I can still continue, there's a max force, so I can still continue to do this. When it relaxes, I can do it again. It's just not going to go, it's just not going to be, any stronger than the maximum that it can do, okay? But the more the faster that I stimulate, the more force is going to, create. So I can actually, so this is a stimulus and this is a stimulus. This right here, this at max, this is called unfused tetanus. And this is just where we've stimulated the muscle to its max, but there's still some relaxation in there to it. It's still kind of relaxing and then starting up again. But I can actually stimulate this muscle even faster, and I can stimulate it to the point that this flattens out. And once it flattens out, that becomes fused tetanus. And that is the absolute strongest that the muscle can be. But it's not sustainable. It will fatigue quite quickly, because this is like, picking your car up, strength here, okay? So this adding up, so we add this one to this one to this one to this one to this one and so on, that's called summation. And specifically, it is called wave summation. And wave summation allows for smooth, powerful contraction. For smooth, powerful contraction. This is how, wave summation is how the muscles normally work, okay? We don't have to totally let it relax, and we can still stimulate it again, okay? I probably should have said this at first, but just make sure you understand, tension means the force of contraction. We call that tension. All right, so next we want to talk about how to make that motor unit even more forceful, what we can do to get an even more strength into that contraction aside from the wave summation.